What's going on YouTube? Cloverbell is here back with another Scarlet Violet team building video, and today we're going to be looking at Tyranitar. So this is another request for a tier 3 sub to the channel where we can do a team building video session in a one-on-one Discord call, and I show how to do the EVs and IVs and movesets and items and all that from scratch. And now comes the video to show what we came up with. So if this is something that you're interested in, where you want some a little bit of help in one-on-one team building, feel free to do a tier 3 sub to the channel. That is in the video description below. There is a link to join, and once you do, just feel free to message me on Discord or Twitter, and then we can organize a time where we can sit down in a call and do just that team build together, right? So this is Tyranitar. So again, just starting with Tyranitar as a whole. So this is something that struggled a little bit in Sword and Shield because of Dynamax, and with all those weaknesses, there just really wasn't a way to get around them. Things like Kyogre, things like Groudon, things like Zacian were just running around, and unfortunately, although T-Tar is very good in terms of its stats, you can look at those stats, it just couldn't really match up with the Ubers, right? And rightfully so. That's why they're called Ubers. You know, if we got a Sand Uber, that would be pretty interesting, but we don't have that to this day. But then if you remember, like Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl formats, Tyranitar was really strong there, especially with this setup move called Dragon Dance, which I'm sure many of you are very familiar with. And that's what we're going to be using today as well, because, you know, Dragon Dance is a really nice setup move for Tyranitar because it can do a couple things. One, it let you outspeed certain threats because you get a speed boost, and two, let you do a bunch of damage, right? Of course. So now you just have to consider, well, what does T-Tar bring to my team, and what do I need to support Tyranitar with, while still keeping things in perspective, you know, still having checks to the rest of the meta, still having ways to deal with certain matchups, even though they may not be like the best of matchups, right? So in terms of Tyranitar, you got all these weaknesses. You're weak to like ground, fire, you know, steel, fairy, you know, water, grass, all these kinds of weaknesses, and you need a way to compensate for pretty much most of them, maybe not all of them, but at least a way to pivot around. So this way Tyranitar can still stay on the field and deal a bunch of damage, right? But thankfully there is no Dynamax. There is terastallization, so that helps Tyranitar a little bit because you can change your type in case a super effective move is coming in, and then that can be okay. And Ghost was often the popular choice in the beginning just because of the fighting stuff, but you know, it's just a little bit better, I think, to just go like Stab Dark, you know, just go like Terra Dark. So now instead of 4 times weakness to a fighting move, now it's just 2, and Tyranitar can take that, right? And then you just go for like, you know, hard-hitting rock slides, get 57 flinches, and then win the game, right? So where do I want to go from here? So I think another kind of dragon can be really good for it because, again, you're weak to water, you're weak to grass, and something that can help Tyranitar, at least with some of those weaknesses. I think Garchomp comes back again. So we just did a Garchomp video in the previous one, a team building one, and now I think we can bring it back here again as a nice little partner to Tyranitar, right? And these two have done very well in VGC's past, right? Because, you know, you're able to at least, you know, for Tyranitar, change the weather to sand, which is great against sun teams and rain teams, by the way. You know, all those Torkoal stuff running around, so you're able to do that. Give yourself a special defense boost, which is really nice. And then Garchomp has not only rough skin, but Sand Veil, where you can rise your evasiveness. Now, this was not as consistent in Sword and Shield, but with the recent tournaments that have been happening, I've seen a lot of Sandbell Garchomp on Tyranitar teams, and we'll look at that in another video. That's a 600+ man tournament that's happening right now with Limitless, and we'll analyze that tournament and see how many Sandbell Garchomps there were. But Rough Skin is ideally the more consistent, better ability, but I think on Tyranitar teams specifically, you can get away with the Sandbell, and you know, they can help you out in some situations, right? So we'll keep the Sandbell for now, but if you like Rough Skin, which is the more consistent one, just go with Rough Skin. But yeah, so we got 2 heavy hitters here, very physical options, of course, and now we have to start thinking about special options while also keeping in mind, you know, can I get Intimidate? Can I get some damage reduction, some speed control? You know, just like things that a team needs to help it do their job better, right? In terms of what role each Pokemon wants to play. So from here, I think we do need some speed control, and I actually like a Corviknight here, believe it or not. So now I'm getting a Steel type option here, and this is something that I wanted to, you know, use for a while. Okay, because I really think Corviknight is a really good mon. It's a little bit slept on at the moment. But in this recent tournament, there is a Corviknight in the top 8, and I really like that a lot. And we'll talk about that team a little bit throughout the video, because this is the same 6, and I was inspired by it. And shoutouts to Polar Bear for taking it into Day 2 Swiss. And hopefully, maybe we can get him on the channel as a special guest. But I really liked his 6, and you know, of course, I don't know his sets, but you know, we're just recreating what we think would be good sets here with this 6, right? So what does Corviknight do? So you're able to go for Tailwind, and then now you have speed control for Tyranitar, who really needs it, because Dragon Dance sometimes isn't enough. And same with Garchomp, right? You know, because now with Garchomp and Corviknight, you're able to click Earthquake, you know, and Corviknight doesn't care because you're a flying type. And Corviknight has Mirror Armor, right? Where in case you want to intimidate Tyranitar or Garchomp, the Mirror Armor can flip that right back to your opponent, right? And you know, not just intimidate, right? Just in terms of stat stages in general. So like if they want to reduce your speed with something like Icy Wind, their stats are lowered instead. So I really like Mirror Armor as ability. I think it's really cool, and it just serves the purpose for these two relatively well, right? And then from here you have to say, okay, again, 3 physical options. I got a Dragon type, I got a Steel type. I could use a Fairy type, but I also need my Fire, Water, Grass core, right? And I think that's also important to address. So how can I get my next Fire, Water, Grass core here? So definitely, you know, you want to consider something like a Rotom-Heat here. And Rotom-Heat and Garchomp are like best buds in almost to an extent, right? Because now we get a special attacker on the team. And now with Rotom, you're able to put pressure on other Steel types. You're able to put pressure on potential water types like Palafin and Dondozo running around, assuming they don't go Terra Dragon. But not only that, you just have no weaknesses now with the terastallization, because you can just turn it to Terra Electric, and with Levitate, ground type attacks can't hit you. So now that's pretty much it. You don't have any weakness. But not only that, Garchomp has another target that, you know, you can another partner that you can click Earthquake next to, and Rotom also has Discharge, where now you have Discharge Earthquake combinations, and now, you know, Rotom can click Discharge next to Garchomp as well, right? So I think that helps up a lot here. So, you know, I really like Rotom in terms of the amount of pressure it can bring to also a lot of grass types, right? Because think about Gyarados. You know, Gyarados, they like to change to Terra Grass, so this way they don't get, like, you know, electric damaged into. Is that a term? Electric damage? But then if you just click you know, your fire move, and now those Gyaradoses are not doing anything, right? So I do like Rotom for that reason here, and we're gonna do a higher damage output Rotom. And for some of you that have some idea what that means, don't spoil it, but you'll just have to see when we get to the EVs, IVs, and movesets section of the video. But then from here, I would like something for Trick Room, because again, we do have Tailwind, but what if someone clicks the Trick Room button? What am I going to do? This is where we get our favorite grass mushroom back, the Amoongus. So Amoongus also allows a couple things. You can even lead like Tyranitar or Amoongus to an extent, right? Because what you can do is click Rage Powder, then clicks Dragon Dance, of course. You can do Amoongus Corviknight, where you can protect the Corviknight in the beginning and then just set up Tailwind. They may kill the Amoongus, but then that gives you a free switch into something like Garchomp or Tyranitar, right? So that's always really nice. But basically, you're able to just click Spore into a bunch of things, and also keep your partner safe with Rage Powder. Be the bulky mushroom that it's meant to be. And then, you know, just Spore is just so good into like a lot of things. And it has to be respected, right? So there's that. And now, again, now if you think of our last slot, we need a water type to fill out our fire, water, grass core. And we're going to go with something like Gastrodon here in this last slot. And this was the 6 that I really liked, and I just, you know, I fell in love with it because it was great in terms of synergy, lots of pivot options. And the reason why Gastrodon makes a lot of sense on a team like this is because one, you have the Dondozo pin almost, right? Because now you have Storm Drain, so they can't click their water stab, their +2 water stab of liquidation or wave crash, whatever one they want to run, I should say. So you have that, and then not only that, you get access to stuff like Yawn and or Clear Smog, which I think is rising now, you know, with the Clear Smog, because literally what you can do is put Gastrodon in front of Dondozo and then just keep clicking Clear Smog, and every time he clicks Order Up or tries to get a boost, all those Omni boosts, you just clear it, and then the Dondozo is just taking damage every turn, and you know, it just doesn't really help him. And then, you know, he might say, well, I'm just gonna click order up and just get past, and then just chip you down slowly. You know, you can't click clear smog forever, but then this is why you run recover, and then, you know, you just have that end game against Dondozo, right? So this is a really, really nice answer and a really nice check to it. We may even do like a separate video on how to use Gastrodon to counter Dondozo, but either way, you know, something like Rotom-Amoongus and Gastrodon has done very well in the past, right? This is a trio that has not only like done well in tournaments, has actually won them, right? If you think back to Sword and Shield days, because they just support each other very well in terms of what they want to do, right? Because you have something for redirection, you have Spore Pressure, you have a lot of support moves with the Gastrodon, and then Rotom, same thing, can deal a lot of damage, especially if you run like a nasty plot set, right? And then you have the Amoongus to help redirect and then set up that nasty plot, and now all of a sudden Rotom in the past could just dynamax and then just click max flares and +2 max lightnings. It was really, really detrimental. And then, but even without dynamax, now they're still really, really good, just because they're all bulky options, right? And they just check a lot of the things in the meta, really. And then again, now with discharge, which is actually really cool, because remember, Gastrodon's a ground type, right? So you can click discharge, you know, swap in your Gastrodon, and it doesn't do any damage, right? And you can do the same thing with Garchomp, right? So like, let's say it's Rotom Corviknight. Oh, he's not going to click discharge. Well, use a brain cell, swap out your Corviknight, bring in Garchomp or Gastrodon, and discharge doesn't do any damage to them. And then they just took a whole bunch of damage because, you know, of the pivot play, right? So good synergy there with Gastrodon and Rotom, good synergy with Rotom Garchomp. And then, you know, of course, Corviknight has this Tailwind option, of course. And then Tyranitar can, you know, just set the sand, chip things down, click Rock Slide, click Dragon Dance, and good opportunities. And then, you know, you have a lot of pressure here with a lot of your big hitters. It's going to be mostly like Rotom, Garchomp, and T-Tar providing the offense. And then like Rotom, Gastrodon, and or Amoongus, they'll just all come in. They'll come in the back and they'll just help support. But our Rotom is also a really nice special attacker on this kind of team, and it's actually the heart and soul of the team, as I would say. Even though it is a team that's featuring Tyranitar and stuff like that, right? So we got the 6. We have our cores. We have redirection support. We have damage mitigation and status infliction, right? So now let's just go ahead and round out the movesets, the EVs, and the item choices, all right? So let's start with Tyranitar. Okay, so now that we're back into Tyranitar stage, so basically what we're going to do is, just like with all of our team building videos, we're going to do the movesets and the items first before we do the EVs. I think EVs always go last because often your item and your moveset can dictate your EVs, right? So you always want to do your movesets and items first and then your EVs. So, of course, here, just a standard T-Char set with Rock Slide, standard Crunch, Dragon Dance, and then last slot being Protect, right? I think this is a very standard Tyranitar set. You know, you get your 2-stab moves, Dark type for, you know, Ghost type pressure, good against Dragapult, good against the Goldangos a little bit, and then just other types that just don't want to be taking a Crunch Dark type. And then you get the defense drop, and then that often helps your Garchomp and Corviknight, right? So then from here, you have a couple options, right? You can technically go the amulet on T-Tar. I think this is better on something like Garchomp, because more or less your Tyranitar just will do a lot more pivoting than your Garchomp, because you always want to like get the weather going, and sometimes they take that away. So I definitely think either something like a Lumberry is really nice, because now if you get off Dragon Dances and then they just want to sleep you or burn you, then the Lumberry just says sorry. So I think Lumberry makes a lot of sense. Or if you want to go a little bit more weakness policy route, you can do that as well. And I also like this item mainly because now without Dynamax, and now that you can change your Terra type, now those super effective damages are just not one-shotting you anymore, especially with the sand where you get a +1 special defense boost. So now what you can do is, you know, surprise the opponent. Go for the weakness policy. If they hit you with a super effective move, now you just got a huge damage boost. And now if you had Tailwind or maybe a couple Dragon Dances, maybe even one, that's very dangerous. And T-Char will put on a lot of pressure that way. Yes, I understand they can still burn you and they can still like sleep you and stuff like that. But, you know, the the pressure that you can still put on with a weakness policy proc is really, really nice. And then you just have to make your T-Tar bulky, right? And, you know, not just go 252 speed, 252 attack, right? Make it bulky so you can take these attacks and then utilize the weakness policy. We'll show the EVs at the end, but I think this is a good move set. But again, if you like the Lumberry instead of the weakness policy, that's also fine as well. All right, Garchomp. So I think, of course, you're going to have to go with Earthquake here. I think Rock Slide also makes a lot of sense. The Rock Slide combo, you know, with Tyranitar and Garchomp. And then from here, you do have Dragon Claw. Actually, let me just put like Dragon Claw here. And then Rock Slide. And then Protect. And then, again, your item of choice. I think this is a good Life Orb set if you want to run 3 attacks and Protect with Life Orb. And you'll do a lot of damage this way. However, there is a rise in the Clear Amulet item, okay? Which means, you know, Garchomp will not take damage reduction from Intimidate, which is really good. And now, all of a sudden, you could just do something like this. You don't really need your Dragon Stab anymore. It doesn't really do a whole lot. But now what you could do is go with Earthquake, Rock Slide, and then go for a Swords Dance setup, since they can't Intimidate you. So now you can just do a whole bunch of damage. And then in terms of like EV spreads, you can take a little bit away from the attack and then opt for more bulk. So this way you're able to take more damage and then just keep clicking like, you know, Earthquakes and Rock Slides, right? And you have Tailwind on the team anyway, so you can even go like an adamant, bulky, slow Garchomp and then just, you know, rely behind Swords Dance stuff, you know, maybe get redirection from Amoongus and then just start sweeping with your spread moves, right? So that's an option. But for the sake of this build, I'm just gonna keep it as Life Orb with the Dragon Stab in the 3rd slot. But again, you have that option for the Clear Amulet. And if you want me to put a spread for it, I'll put it in the comment section, but I'll still stick with this route for now. Okay, let's go to Corviknight here. So what I like about Corviknight is not only can it, you know, support your team, but it also can deal out some damage, right? Probably not as much damage as the Tyranitar and Garchomp, but we can make it do it. So here's what I had in mind. So Brave Bird here, and then Bulk Up, right? And then Roost. So what's really good about, you know, setup moves is, you know, and if you can pair it with Recovery, now you have like end game potential. Because now what happens is this, and I'm gonna put leftovers here. So what you could do is, yes, you are a Tailwind setter, but now you have maybe end games where you can like click Bulk Up, and then you're gonna boost up your attack and defense, and then, you know, you might be taking damage because the other team wants to knock you out, but then you can just click Roost, and then you're getting leftovers recovery. Then you can click Bulk Up again, and then if they're a physical hitter, that's exactly what you want because they're going to be doing less and less damage every turn, and you're going to be getting recovery back, and then the final like 3 or 4 turns, then you can just click Brave Bird and clean things up, right? So Corviknight has that value as well, along with the synergy with Garchomp. You know, just being able to click Earthquake for stuff, right? And if you think Garchomp or T-Tar has like, you know, these ice attacks coming in, not T-Tar, but Garchomp, that you can always just swap in, right? To Rotom or even like your T-Tar or even Corviknight, and then you're kind of just okay. But this is the set that we're going to be running on Corviknight. I think it's really, really good. You can go the Iron Defense Body Press route. So if you go Tailwind, Iron Defense, Body Press, Protect, I think that's also okay. If you want to go that route, let me just show you that set. Body Press and then Protect. This is still the same thing where like you click Iron Defense 1 turn, get some recovery, then next turn click Protect, get more recovery, Iron Defense again, Protect next turn, get more recovery, and then finally until you have like a bunch of defense, then you can finally click Body Press and just one-shot everything, right? So there's that set. So if you want this set, that's also fine, but it's cool to go like with Brave Bird and Bulk Up. You know, it's less expected because they assume you're Iron Defense Body Press on with Tailwind, but this is also a good offensive set. I like it a lot. And I saw this on Polar's team as well, so that's why I was like, yo, I love this guy. Rotom. So here's the cool thing about Rotom with Garchomp teams is they're actually specs, all right? And it makes sense. And I'll put Volt Switch here for a pivot move. So what's really cool with Choice Specs Rotom is you're dealing a lot of damage with Discharge, all right? And of course you have the 30% para chance. And then if you just, you know, if you're next to Garchomp or if you pivot in your Gastrodon, you're just dealing so much damage with Discharge. And then of course you have like Life Orb, Earthquakes on top of that. So that's like so much damage, right? And it's really, really cool. you know, with this Rotom set. And then if you're in a bad spot, you know, you can just click Volt Switch turn 1 and then just like, you know, get something else in there and get Rotom in a better position next turn. So I like this. Amoongus. So a couple of options you can run on Amoongus. I think, you know, either something like a Focus Sash would be pretty good. You can even go like Mental Herb, so you don't get taunted. So this way you can keep clicking Rage Powders and Spores. I also think Oka Berry makes a lot of sense. So this way you can take Rotom Overheats, you know, Arcanine Flare Blitzes, Cerulege's Bitter Blade. You know, these are all like popular fire attacks running around right now. So Oka Berry helps a lot there. But you know, all the other options were good. Okay. And then from here, I like Clear Smog, of course, and Protect. So this is what's gonna clear, you know, those stat boosts that we talked about Dondozo, but things going for Dragon Dance, things going for, you know, nasty plots. You know, you can just clear all those boosts and you know, just be okay, right? That's the role of Amoongus. Speaking of that, again with the Gastrodon, so of course you need one ground stab. I think Earth Power makes a lot of sense. And then I also like this speed control move of Icy Wind. So that's also really nice. So you have Tailwind, you have Icy Wind, and then you have the Parachance with Discharge. So that's really cool. But if you want Ice, do you still get Ice Beam, by the way? You do still get Ice Beam. So you can still go for Ice Beam if you want. Nice into Garchomp that doesn't Terra, but I like the speed control with the Icy Wind. It's really, really consistent. I do like Citrus Berry here. So this way you can help the Slug get some recovery. Now, again, you have the option here. If you like another Clear Smogger, you know, where, again, this can literally sit in front of like Dondozo or other Pokemon in general, and then just keep clicking Clear Smog, sure. Or if you want to put it to sleep or put things to sleep with Yawn and force like potential switches, I think Yawn makes a lot of sense as well. So if you want to have like Clear Smog here and Yawn over here, you can do that as well. I think they both, you know, there's merit to both options. It really just depends on you, how you want to use the team, right? So this is the 6. So now let's just go ahead and reveal the GIFs. So we have Tyranitar, we have Garchomp. Now we're going to put Corviknight, Amoongus, Rotom-Heat, and Gastrodon in the final slot. So I think we got all the moves and the items, right? So now we can just go ahead and start doing EVs. So let's start right back with T-Tar. Okay, so with Tyranitar here, a couple things you have the option for doing. But again, it all depends on what you want for your speed tier. So I'll just show you like a couple of ideas, and then of course you can pick whichever one you want, you think is ideal. Can be tested, but first of all, we're definitely going to go Adamant. All right, I think just going Adamant helps us get a lot of boost. And then from here, what I decided to do is at least I want to outspeed Dragapult and Tailwind, and all you need for that is 107 in speed tier, right? And you might say, oh, this is a very fast Tyranitar. Yeah, it is. We're a fast T-Tar in Tailwind because now you outspeed everything in the format, right? Because Dragapult is the king, but now under Tailwind you outspeed that. So Tyranitar will be your fastest mon under Tailwind. And then from here, because you already have Dragon Dance and Weakness Policy, you know, you can just go up to the first EV bump, if anything, which is just this, right? You see how you went from 174 to 176. You skipped one stage, and then not one stage, one stat, and then went to the second one. It went up by 2. So it's every 80 EVs. If I went to the next one, it would be 44 plus 80, which is 124. So right here, you see how you go from 185 to 187. You skipped 186. But for our purposes, we're just going to go up to here. Max the HP on our T-Tar. I think it's always nice to always max out this HP. And then you just have 8 and 8. So just 1 point here and 1 point here, right? And this is a not as hard hitting of a Tyranitar, but it is a bulky fast one because all your damage is coming from Weakness Policy and Dragon Dance, right? If you're able to set it up, or you can just click Rock Slide under Tailwind, get 28 flinches, and then you're fine from there. But if you want a little bit more damage and maybe not so fast of a Tyranitar, so there's another thing you can do. Let me just reset this. So you could just go up to something like this, like 86, just to outspeed other Tyranitars. All right, and then just invest your bulk evenly on both the defense and special defense. So you could just do something like this, where I can put like 80 EVs here, and then maybe even like a bunch of EVs over here, something like this, right? Or you can just go 80 more EVs here, 124, and then just put like a bunch of, because you're already getting like special defense, right? By the way, I always want this to I always want to try and put this to an even number just because of the sand chip, not the sand chip, the special defense boost that you get from sand, right? 1.5. So this way, if this is an even number, 1.5 multiplier gives you a whole number rather than a decimal, right? Because if this was an odd number, say like this, then it's something 0.5, and then your stat rounds down. And you don't want your stats to round down, right? You always want like that perfect whole number. So at the very least, try to get an even number in the special defense. Not like super necessary. It's just like one of those like optimal things. But if you can't get it, it's okay. But it's always quite nice. But anyway, then you can just do something like this, right? So now you have a good, a harder hitting T-Tar that's still pretty bulky, right? And maybe it's a little bit slower, but now again, you have the damage from Weakness Policy and or Dragon Dance, and the speed can come from the Tailwind, Icy Wind, or even your own Dragon Dance, right? So this is a pretty good Tyranitar set if you want to go for this. Or if you want, you can just sacrifice a little bit more defense and then just a little bit more speed like this, where you're not as fast as the other T-Tar, but at the very least, you hit a little bit harder. And now this 96, what this does after 2 Dragon Dances, you'll outspeed Dragapult, right? Because when you get your first Dragon Dance, and this is also a nice number, 96, because if you do 1 Dragon Dance, 96 times 1.5, if you do the math, that'll get you to 144. And most teams, they go for 143 if they have like a Gyarados or something with the Dragon Dance to outspeed a Dragapult. But if you hit 144, you already outspeed the Gyarados that didn't go for Dragon Dance yet, and then you can click Rock Slide. So that's always kind of cool. And of course, if you can couple that with Tailwind, then you just outspeed pretty much everything, right? So we'll keep it here. But if you like the other spread, definitely go for it. I think they both make a lot of sense. But I'll keep it with this T-Tar spread for now. Okay, Garchomp, this is another standard one. This is our Life Orb set. So I'll just use our old Life Orb set Garchomp where we just go max speed. And then we optimize the Life Orb chip where we end our HP in a 9. And then just put 1 point in the bulk, and then they're pretty much just the rest in attack. Something like this, right? If you want the clear amulet set with Swords Dance, right? If you wanted this set, then what I would do is probably make him a little bit slower. Where, you know, after, you know, pretty much all you really need is just like bulk on this kind of Garchomp set. If you want to like surprise your opponent, you could just go like super bulky and then go adamant. So maybe something like this, maybe just like the first bump or even like the second bump, and then you can be like super slow, just go to like something like this with 144, right? And then just be like all bulk Garchomp, and then this is it, right? So something like this could be really good, and it'll ruin a lot of damage calcs, especially if Garchomp is as popular as it is right now. People are, you know, doing calcs where like it just doesn't have any HP and just all like attack and speed. This kind of spread can save you, and you can afford this kind of spread because you have Tailwind on your team, right? So you could be a slow, bulky chomp for that matter. So if you like this, definitely go for that. Otherwise, I'm just gonna put the Life Orb set back here, and then we're just kind of chilling for here. So let me just reset this to Jolly and go back here to 189, and then max out our speed again, and then the rest into attack. Okay, Corviknight. So Corviknight, I am going to go also adamant on this type of, because I also want to deal some damage. Like 87 is not great, but it's not terrible, because at the very least I do have some bulk up damage. And the idea here is to have that, end game option where, you know, I'm going for the bulk up stat boost, and then I'm recovering in the late game, and then I just kill with Brave Bird stuff, right? So I think, again, with Brave Bird, it makes a lot of sense. Did I put Protect here? I meant put Roost. Sorry. But yeah, that was with the Iron Defense set, right? So what's good about Brave Bird and Roost is like, yes, you're taking damage, but then you can just recover it with Leftovers and Roost, right? So the speed I decided here, I believe I went to right here, 172. Technically, 107 is all I needed for Tailwind to outspeed Dragapult, for example. But, you know, I want to speed creep some speed creepers, so I just went to 109 just for that reason. And then from here, I went with 148 investment in the HP, so this way I can optimize my Leftovers recovery, because 192 divided by 16 is 12. If I do something like this, it's now 11.9375, so that rounds down to 11 HP recovery per turn. I'm undercutting my HP value, and then if I do something like this, This is now like 12.1, which still rounds down to 12. So there's no reason to do that. So I just go to 192. And now I have extra EVs to play with in my attack stat and some of my bulk. So I'm just going to go for either the first bump here or the second one, depending on how much damage I'm doing. So this is the first bump where you have 100 attack investment. You see how you went from 130 to 132. That's the first EV bump. And then you have 88 more EVs left to play with. So you could just do something like this, if anything. And then just put the rest in special defense. So this way you have some bulk there. But if you don't think this is enough damage where you need to do a little bit more with Brave Bird, then you can just do something like this. And it works out nicely, right? Because another 80 EVs just gets you to 143. This is, again, the other bump. So definitely consider this as another spread. But if you like the other one where you have a little bit of special defense, then that's also cool. Rotom, this is the easiest one. We're just going to go modest. And we're just going to try and hit really hard. And, you know, just pray, right? Not just pray, but, you know, like we have Tailwind support. So 138 is already more than what we need. If you want, you can do something like this where is this even worth it? Where like I just go like a little bit of bulk. Is this even worth it? Nah, let me just go full speed. It's okay. All right. So yeah, that's the easiest Rotom spread. So Amoongus, now again, I do want to have that little defense boost, right? Because of the physical fire types that I might encounter, or just physical options in general. I do want to be 0 speed, so this way I can be the slowest thing in Trick Room. 236 investment in my HP. This is a very common HP number because 219 will optimize the regenerate recovery because you get 1/3 of your HP back. If you do something like 218 or 220, then you're getting a decimal when you get regenerated recovery, which will just round it down. Not completely optimal. So we just go for this. And this will also put you out of range of the Annihilate Final Gambit stuff that's running around. You'll have like 2 HP left. So that's also really nice. And then you just hit the bump here in defense. So let's see where that is. I think we've actually passed it already. No, we didn't. Never mind. All right, right here. So you go from 108 to 110. This is the first bump. So now 76 plus another 80 EVs, so it's going to be 156. There it is. You went from 119 to 121, and just put the rest in special defense like this. Gastrodon. So couple options here. I do like a Bolt set just because the Dondozo stuff, right? And it's my weaker of the defenses, right? So I do like that. So I'm just going to go with something like this where I have 172 HP investment. And 208 is a good number. This will optimize a nice flat HP number. I think it's 52 HP with the Citrus Berry recovery, not a decimal. I'm going to go to the bump here. I think it's at the very end, actually. See how you go from 130 to 132 at the end with the defense bump here? Yeah, that's crazy. Where was the previous bump? Right here, 119 to 121. And then another 80 EVs, right? So... Or you could just do this, where like, where was it? You could just do this if you want. You know, so this way you have bulk on both sides. But I think this is still okay, right? I kind of want a little bit more defense and then just a little bit more special defense. And then again, we're not trying to deal damage with Gastrodon, right? We're just trying to support, you know, Icy Wind speed control, Yawn to like force, you know, potential switch outs and force them in a bad position. And then, you know, just, you know, tank things. All right, and I think that's it. I think we did it all. All right, so let me just put this as a paste here. So I kind of like the 6. And again, shout outs to Polar for trying to use the 6 right now in the tour. It's day 2. I really hope he does well, and you know, I've messaged him and hopefully he can respond because, you know, I'm trying to cheer for him. I think he had a very similar set. I think this is pretty much almost what he had, but again, we don't know his EV spreads, so we just made our own. But they make a lot of sense in terms of what the team's trying to do. Oh wait, I forgot to do like the Terra stuff. Hold on, let me just like go back here. So we want rock. This one we definitely want to consider ground Terra. Yeah, I almost forgot this. I have to remember I have to remember to do this now because this is not something we did in Sword and Shield. Flying is good, electric is good. All right, so this one we want Terra Water because of the fire moves. Yes, we have an Oka Berry, but they can just click it again, right? So I think Terra Water makes a lot of sense for a defensive Terra. This one, no, we don't need Terra Water. I think either like Terra Fire makes a lot of sense, You know, just because like the only weakness we have is a grass type move, but if we go Terra Fire, we can kind of resist that. Now, do understand that if you do that, you are going to get hit with the discharge on your Gastrodon, so just keep that in mind. But at the very least, you can take that grass hit if needed, right, from something like a Terra Blast Gyarados. Anyway, so now we can go back here and do this. So we got a Dragon Steel type. We don't have a Fairy type this time around, but that's okay. We still have a Fire, Water, Grass core with Rotom-Amoongus-Gastrodon. And again, we have some bulky, we have a lot of bulk on this team, right? Corviknight, Amoongus-Gastrodon, they're very bulky. T-Tar is also bulky in itself. We have some big damage dealers, physical options with Garchomp and Tyranitar, at times Corviknight. And we have special attacker, a very good special attacker with Rotom. A little bit from Gastrodon, and a little bit, not almost nothing from Amoongus, of course, but either way, that's just what we need from it. Again, we have status inflictions with Spore, right? And we also have Yawn. Then we have Icy Wind and Tailwind for speed control. And then we even have the occasional discharge. The Roost and Bulk Up option is a potential endgame scenario. But yeah, this is it. I really like the 6. Now, you might say, where's the Intimidate? So in the tournament, we're gonna talk about this more in like in another video, but like in the tournament right now, there's actually not a lot of Intimidate for good reason, and Clear Amulet is the main reason why. But we'll talk more about that in another video. But at the very least, I can show a couple practice games with this on Showdown at the very least, just to show how the team can work. So let's just go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you like another alternative build that you can do with Tyranitar, which I think is also a nice one. But yeah, let's just show a couple quick games. Okay, so we'll take a look at one of these sample battles here. So again, with this player, yeah, I mean, he's got the Tailwind Mon with the Kilowattrel. He's got Trick Room with the Armarouge, most likely. Annihilate, Choice Scarf, Final Gambit is something. Grimmsnarl here looks a little weird. There's just not a lot of offense here, honestly. Like, I understand the Armarouge can hit hard, so can the Breloom and Annihilate, but like, even then, I don't see anything that I fear. It's just all a matter of like the speed control stuff. But I'm just gonna lead combination of Garchomp and Rotom and see what he does. Now again, he has to kind of lead Tailwind. Yeah, he does lead Tailwind. So because he has to try and outspeed me, he probably figures the Corviknight has Tailwind. So he's trying to match that, and then he's just doing the annoying combination of Breloom Spore, right? This is something that, you know, of course, is to be expected, but it doesn't really do anything because yes, he spores, but then he's not really doing damage. Like, what is the Kilowattrel going to do to Garchomp? Absolutely nothing. And it's not going to do a whole lot to Rotom either. So as soon as I wake up, if he does go for Spore, then yeah. So he spores the Garchomp instead. But that's fine by me because this is just free discharge damage from Rotom. Look at this Choice Specs discharge damage. Like, Breloom resisted that. That's still a pretty good chunk there. Okay. And he poisoned himself. So that means he's the Toxic Heal stuff. So he's not Technician, no Choice Band there. So he swaps into the Garganacl. Good play there. But again, Discharge is still doing a big chunk. That's still good chunk damage into Garganacl. But it is a good switch. But he's still wasting his Tailwind turns. There's not a lot of offense coming out from the Breloom. And it's just a matter of time before Rotom can just clean that up with Overheat. But yeah. Now, again, here's the Armarouge trying to get in position with Tailwind. But I'm just going to bring in T-Tart. And now Garchomp does wake up, luckily. And that's just free damage into the Breloom slot, which is now the Armarouge slot. And the Garganacl can go for Salt Cure, yes. But again, you know, that's chip damage. That's good chip damage for him. But like, what are these two doing to Garchomp and Tyranitar? Now, that being said, the easy thing to do is just protect T-Tar here and just go for Earthquake. Just deal a bunch of damage to these two Mons. Maybe force a switch out here. That's a lot of damage to Garganacl. And he just sets up Iron Defense, which is unfortunately from this range not enough to keep him alive against these two behemoths. So this is also very easy because now there's just one turn of Tailwind left. Now we just go into Corviknight to go for our Tailwind stuff, and he does go into the Grass type just to like not take Heat Wave stuff, not take a ground move, but yeah. But now this Trick Room kind of like helps me in a bit because, you know, yes, he can Spore the Garchomp, but Corviknight outspeeds the Breloom now. So that's also one thing to note. That being said, and also this Armarouge is going to die next turn no matter what because of the Sandstorm, unless he switches it out. but that's okay too. He goes for the Spore on the Corviknight instead. Gets the crit on the Chomp, almost kills the Corviknight. So he expected the Brave Bird to go into the Breloom, but because we have good EVs, we're able to live that, and the Armrouge goes down. And now he just has the Bird and the Breloom, and that's not gonna be enough against Rotom and T-Tar, right? So luckily for me, Rotom is now the fastest thing because he clicked Trick Room, so that's just a free overheat, and this game is pretty much over because the Kilowattrel by itself is just not enough to go 1-on-3 at this range. So my opponent just forfeits, right? So yeah, pretty easy stuff. Tyranitar did what it needed to do. Garchomp was great, and then Rotom free discharge damage into a lot of things. All right, so let's just look at one more. Okay, this is another good team. This is another Garchomp Sylveon team, kind of like what we built in the previous video, but it also features Ceruledge now instead of like an Arcanine Intimidate option, and there is Tailwind here with the Murkrow, so he's got a good team. I like it a lot, but I feel like, again, you know, other than the Garchomp, you know, Rotom just does a lot of damage here, right? Now, I know Sylveon has pretty good special defense. Amoongus can resist it, but like the Ceruledge and the Murkrow cannot. So Rotom also puts on fire type pressure against the Amoongus. So we got a lot of options here. By the way, this is like, you know, I haven't been really leveling on this account. So this is like low level showdown stuff. So, you know, take that for what you will. You know, eventually when we get some of these teams on card, we'll be, you know, pushing for Master Ball, of course. Just like what we did in Sword and Shield, a bunch of Master Ball tier games. But for now, this is just an alt account that we're just using to make teams, right? So we'll see how it goes here. But I start off with Corviknight, Rotom-Heat. So Ceruledge and Murkrow comes out here. So this is very simple. You just pivot out into the Gastrodon here. I know he's going for Tailwind, and I don't want my Ceruledge to kill my Corviknight turn 1. So I'm going to read the Skitter Smack here. Skitter Smack. Bitter Blade. Why did I say Skitter Smack? So there's the Bitter Blade. And then this is just free discharge damage once again. And you can see that's just free damage. Look how much damage that did to Ceruledge. And then again, Gastrodon doesn't take any damage because you're a ground type. And now what are these two things going into Gastrodon? And we get the free para. So he goes for Taunt. I mean, I understand the switch into Rotom here. He's probably reading the Earth Power. But again, I have no reason to do that. I can just click Icy Wind because I thought he might go into the Garchomp here just in case of an Ice Beam here. But again, this is just free discharge damage. So I make the mid-ground play with Icy Wind instead of the Earth Power. But, you know, either way, looks like he did have the Garchomp in the back and he can't really answer. So that's another free win. But again, you see the discharge combination, right? So you switch out the Corviknight, you go into your ground type, you click discharge, and then you reposition your Corviknight for the end game with Tailwind later on, right? So that's how you use the team. Now what I want to do is just show you like a different alternate build that you can do with Tyranitar that I think is also pretty good. I won't do like full EVs, but at least I want to show you the 6. So let's look at that, and then I'll get you guys out of here. Okay, so this is going to be like a slight alternate version of the team where we're using a couple different mons, but I think it makes a lot of sense. So of course we're going to start off with Tyranitar, but I also like Hydreigon instead of the Garchomp slot. So what ends up happening is this becomes your Steel type, and then this can be like a Tailwind setter because you get access to Tailwind, so you can have like Draco Meteor, you can have Dark Pulse, you can have Snarl, and then you can have Tailwind, right? So you can be like a bulky Tailwind set. And then from here, you can have stuff like Gyarados and Amoongus, right? And then Sylveon for your fairy option, and then your fire type can be something like either Arcanine or it can be like Rotom-Heat. But I do like this 6 in terms of what the team's supposed to do. So you do get Intimidate here, you get redirection support. Sylveon with Pixelate becomes like a really strong hyper voice user, especially if you give it like throat spray. So I think this build makes a lot of sense as well. The Gyarados would probably have like the clear amulet set with Dragon Dance, of course. And then the Hydreigon, you could just make this like a very bulky set. You could go like Life Orb here, you know, just to deal a lot of damage with Dark Pulse and Snarl. That helps a lot. You can just go like Lumberry here with the T-Tar and then also go for Dragon Dance. I think that also makes a lot of sense. But something like this, where like you have a Dragon Fairy Steel Core along with a Fire Water Grass. In fact, let me just put that over here, just to like reorganize it. Yeah, something like this. So you have the Arcanine, Gyarados, Amoongus Core. So a couple physical options, and then you have 2 special options with Hydreigon and Sylveon. And then the Tailwind support is really good, and then you always have the Amoongus for Trick Room stuff, along with the Sylveon, by the way. So this is another cool 6 that you can try, and let me know if you want this 6. And if you want me to like build it, you know, I guess I could do it for like a tier sub, I guess. But you know, I'm just showing you the idea again behind it. But I think this 6 makes a lot of sense as well. But yeah, let's just go back to the original team. All right, folks, so there it is. There is our Tyranitar squad. And again, it features a lot of cool different bonds here that we've used and loved before. Again, we've got Garchomp here with Sandveil, you know, really, really cool clutch ability, you know, with +1 evasiveness, especially if you're using moves that are like already not 100%. So that comes in the clutch. And this is used a little bit more now in the tournaments that have Tyranitar and Garchomp together specifically. Corviknight, again, your steel type option that can give you that endgame potential with leftovers and roost with bulk up. Also gives you, of course, your speed control with Tailwind. Rotom-Heat, a lot of cool plays that you can do with discharge with your Garchomp and Gastrodon. So that's always really, really nice. And then you put on a lot of pressure with Overheat and Thunderbolt for that same reason. Amoongus, again, Clear Smog, able to remove boost, something to play in Trick Room, Redirector to help you set up Tailwind, or Redirector to help set up Dragon Dance. Gastrodon, again, you know, more useful in like those Dondozo Pilafin games, you know, where you can just sit there, you know, with Storm Drain and kind of pin them a little bit. And then you always have Yawn Pressure to like force out switches. So, you know, good status move. And then again, T-Tar with the weakness policy and Dragon Dance stuff can do a lot of damage. Your opponent's going to be afraid to click that super effective move. And you have the bulk where you can take these moves now. So, you know, there's no more Dynamax, and you can change your Terra type to Terra Rock. I don't know why it didn't show up here, but it is Terra Rock. Let's see if I can adjust the pace in the off video. But yeah, let me know what you think of this squad. And again, if you're interested in building with me, that's a tier 3 sub to the channel in the video description below. I'll also put it in the comment section. A lot of you have registered already, so that's always great. And yeah, I think in the next one, we'll do another video where we recap a big tournament. The Limitless tournament is still going on right now as we speak. 600 plus competitors. So we'll analyze that. We'll take a look at where the meta is going, and then we'll build another team after that moving forward. All right. So peace out, guys, and have a great night.